St. Louis Earth Day, next on City Corner. Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome to City Corner. Well, it's the month of April, and April 22nd is Earth Day, which is now actually celebrated in more than 190 countries. Believe it or not, right here in St. Louis, we celebrate with the St. Louis Earth Day Festival, and I'm joined by the executive director of St. Louis Earth Day, the organization that puts on the festival each year. Cassandra Hage, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I can't believe Earth Day, April 22nd, it's now recognized in more than 190 countries. It's pretty amazing.
Well, you know, everything is global these days, and I think it's great that there's a big movement of solidarity around environmental issues across the world.
So last year was, for the St. Louis Earth Day Festival, the 25th anniversary. This will be the 26th year. It's going strong. What's going to be new this year? What's going to take place this year?
Well, every year we try to seek out new partnerships to bring exciting things to the festival, and we always bring back some of the new favorites as well. But this year we are partnering with Upper Limits to have a rock climbing wall, which I'm personally really excited about. I think that'll be fun. We are also going to have mural painting on a bus, a Metro bus, through Metro Arts and Transit and MSD's Project Clear. So we have some messaging around the importance of clean water and overall environmental sustainability. And that'll be going around St. Louis for the next year.
Oh, neat. How it's painted at the festival itself.
There's a little bit of touch-up that happens behind the scenes, but yeah, artists of any age are invited to come help with the design.
And so the past couple of years it's kind of moved around in the photos we were looking at. You're now on the Muni grounds, is that right? And how long has it been there? Because it used to be on Central Fields, right, in Forest Park?
You know, in the early days of the festival, it moved around pretty much every year. So I like talking with the old timers and being reminded of the different locations. So there was the Arch Grounds and Creve Coeur Park, Tower Grove Park, the Chain of Rocks Bridge, really a lot of different places throughout St. Louis. But I think once it landed at the Muni grounds, we kind of recognized the beauty and of the whole area, and then Forest Park is such a central point to the region and St. Louis City and county, so it really makes a lot of sense for us to be there.
What do you think is sort of like the essence of the festival, like what you hope to achieve? This is a full day event, one full day. What do you hope to achieve? What is it that you're trying to encourage people to get more into, sort of environmental activism, or more just awareness?
It's a little bit of everything. I think that we really try to make it very approachable, so people at any different level, whether they're just kind of dabbling in sustainability or if they've been doing it since way back when, that really anybody can find something. So we do hope that people walk away learning something from the event, and that they feel comfortable coming to the event in the first place.
I know that I was sharing with you earlier, like the first time I went to Earth Day when I was young, and I know kids doing activities and gearing this towards kids is a big thing for the festival, and we've got some photos of that. Let's take a look. I mean, what are some of the activities for the family or really for children?
So this year we actually clustered a lot of the educational hands-on activities into the youth corner, so there is kind of a designation for that. We have a lot of upcycled and art projects that are going on, and we really just open up this opportunity to the community and see what kind of proposals we'll get, and we get so many different creative proposals. One of the ones that I think is really interesting is the National, I'm going to mess this up, but the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency or something like that. They basically put together these survival maps for the U.S. Army, and they're going to have those on site and show people how to do different survival skills in the wild, how to use a map, and then even how to fold up the map and use it to catch water. So I mean, that's just like one very specific example of a very broad range of things that we have. Like I said, lots of art activities, lots of science activities about animals and rivers and water and planting a garden, We'll have activities where you can actually go home with a seedling. So really, like I said, a wide range of activities.
And I think it's starting with kids in terms of, you mentioned sustainability, sort of introducing this idea. I know they're introduced that and taught that in school to a certain extent, but to really have these hands-on activities and to sort of recognize the importance of it, you think it's sort of key to start early and to have activities there for kids? Is that definitely, a foundation or a part of the festival?
Yeah, I think a lot of entertainment for kids these days happens behind a screen, and so I think anything just get them out and active is good for one, but having a meaningful experience when you're young, and you were sharing some of yours with me, it really can set the tone for your perspective the rest of your life. So I do think that it really is important for young kids to get out here and celebrate, but like I said, we have something for all ages, for sure. It's just a really special thing to be able to hear the memories of people that were created with their family, but then also in a special place like the Earth Day Festival.
Right, and to see it outside of hearing it in the classroom. I know a lot of people go each year because you have so many vendors and vendors that are aligned with sustainability or environmental issues. And so we've got some photos. Whole Foods, I believe, is one of your sponsors, actually.
We get tremendous support from the community. So at the risk of forgetting someone, I don't even want to begin listing all of our sponsors and vendors, but we do have pretty much all the different sectors represented. So we have about a third large businesses, a third small businesses, and a third nonprofit organizations. So it's a great place to, if you want to volunteer, you can meet other organizations that are out there, or if you're interested in any sort of, birds or hunting or gardening. I mean, they're just like all those different kinds of nonprofits and organizations that you can come meet and visit. We're also doing a pet adoption this year, which is really exciting. So we'll have adoptable cats and dogs on site, and people can actually play with them and interact with them, and maybe start the adoption process if they find a good match. And let's see, we'll also have yoga on site all day, which is a fun activity. I think a lot of people, they hear it and they're like, I don't know, I've never done it before, I don't want to try it. But we're partnering with this organization, Yoga Buzz, that is, their whole thing is making yoga accessible for all, and so it's very beginner, approachable classes that'll be happening throughout the day.
So with all the people participating, whether it's for-profits or nonprofits, and knowing obviously that this is all in celebration and recognition of Earth Day, what sort of is that continuum, or when you're looking at who's going to participate, is there a criteria as it relates to their environmental stance?
That's a great question. We were established very early on that we wanted this to be inclusive. So we didn't want to draw a line in the sand and say, you're not green enough, because, where do you draw it? It's a very gray line. So we approach it as we're all in this together. And so as long as you're coming to the festival with the intention of celebrating and educating either what you do or products or services that you have, but just some way that you're connected to this idea of the spirit of Earth Day, then you're welcome at our event.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. We're looking at some photos of music. I know that that's a big component too, is you've got, is that Joya?
Yeah.
That you've got music at the festival as well. Tell me about that.
Yeah, they're one of those favorites that we keep bringing back. So they've been, it's fun looking back through old photos because you'll see the same people, but they're 20 years older. Joya's been leading the parade, the all species parade, since one of the early days of Earth Day in St. Louis. And so they have drums, and it's a really interactive, engaging parade. It's a pedestrian parade, so there aren't floats or anything like that, but we do encourage people to dress up as their favorite species. And sometimes we get big puppets that people wear, and it's all very exciting and festive.
And then are there any other musicians that are taking place, whether that's on Earth Day? And I know you also do something the day before to kind of kick it off as well.
Right. We have three stages of entertainment. We have a main stage and a cafe stage that have local, regional, very talented original artists. And then we have a community stage where it's more performance-based. So we have some dance, and we have, the World Bird Sanctuary is going to come out with their birds and do a bird show, and Circus Flora will be there. And so it's a great lineup, and all of that information is on our website. Yeah.
Okay, and then lastly, I want to be sure food, and so it's funny, I was thinking while you were talking back to some of my early memories, when I was a child going, and I remember I would say to my mom, "Oh, but there's veggie burgers there." It seemed like such a novel idea there. Tell me about some of the food vendors that that participate each year and what they have to offer.
Well, this is a great opportunity for us to really showcase what you can do with sustainability in food. It's a really important category. One of our programs, which I think we'll talk about a little bit later, is the Green Dining Alliance, where we help restaurants become more sustainable. And so the majority of the restaurants that are participating this year have gone through the certification process and are certified through the Green Dining Alliance. At minimum, this means that they're agreeing to recycle and compost at our event. So we have very strict criteria for the materials they can bring in so that we can make sure we can implement our zero waste effort on the way out through our Recycling on the Go program, which I think we will also be talking about a little bit later. The food is really fantastic. It's definitely not a funnel cakes and corn dog event. You'll find anything from, we have ice cream, which is ice cream that's done with nitrogen. I'm not really sure about the chemistry behind it, but they just got GTA certified and they'll be there making ice cream on site. We have cacao chocolates, which are just really scrumptious truffles and other kinds of chocolates. But then we have, I go right to the sweets, right? But we have lots of different, whether it's Indian or Mexican or who else? I think we have some Italian style, lots of different ethnicities represented as well, or different interpretations of ethnic foods. And a lot of them are healthier alternatives to some of the things you would traditionally see. And of course we have a selection of grass-fed burgers and bison burgers and veggie burgers and all of those different options as well.
I think it really is actually one of the big highlights that people look forward to in addition to the vendors being there. I want to talk about the volunteers because obviously you can't do this by yourself. I know you do a lot, but you can't do it by yourself. But we're going to take a quick break actually. And when we return, we're going to talk more about St. Louis Earth Day Festival 2015.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you. Body language can tell you all sorts of things. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. Learn the body language and spot a stroke fast.
Nice.
Oops. Yeah, sure. Let's go. Moms everywhere are finding ways to keep kids active and healthy.
Works every time.
Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov.
Yo, what up? It's your man Nelly, and you're watching STL TV. Experience the Lou all day.
I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome back to City Corner. Today we're talking about St. Louis Earth Day, the festival that takes place this year on April 26th, and I'm joined by Cassandra Hage. She's the executive director of St. Louis Earth Day, the nonprofit that presents the festival. So again, thank you for joining me and thank you for being here. So we left off talking about really this is a big endeavor. You work on it for the entire year to put together and how much you rely on volunteers. How many volunteers roughly do you need each year to kind of make this successful?
We have gotten more and more volunteers every year, which is great. And we also have kind of a core volunteers who keep coming back year after year, which is, of course, as you can imagine, very, very valuable. They kind of know the ropes. But we this year we have about 300 volunteers signed up, which is a record for us.
And you probably need, and they just work in all areas of there's a look at some of the volunteers. The volunteers on break.
Yeah, they eat. We let them stop and eat every once in a while.
But is it just informational, cleanup, setup, everything that you kind of need the help
Yeah,
of?
all the kind of back of house type of things that you don't want to think about when you're enjoying an event. Those things need to happen.
And there's your team. This is is this your staff?
Yeah. We did a little promotion for Earth Day Half Birthday, which is October 22nd, where we were kind of kicking off everything, and so we had a fun little photo shoot in Forest Park to get excited about the big day.
Yeah, and there you guys are. I guess was that last year. At last year's.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's neat, I find, is that people probably only think about the festival itself, but you do work throughout the year. That's just the big festival is just one of many things that you do. So talk about, as a nonprofit, some of the other programs that you have.
Yeah. So our tagline is Earth Day Every Day, because that is really the metamorphosis that we've seen over the years, where it really can't just be that one day. It has to be something that that individuals, governments, businesses, all internalize and are doing not just on one day, but really every day of the year to make a big difference. So to help that, we work with about 90 or so different events over the course of mainly through April through November or so, where we are helping events go green using the model that we've developed by putting on the Earth Day Festival. So primarily we're working with recycling and composting. Waste, it's just amazing how much waste that these events produce. And so anything that we can do to divert some of that from the landfill is appreciated and certainly needed.
I think we have a photo and you talk about the waste of one of the events that you partner with to help with the recycling, and this photo right here, and that's just, and that's only obviously just one small component of that. Talk about this. This might be from LouFest or not, but you, as you said, you do partner on different events with other organizations to manage their recycling?
LouFest, Festival of Nations, Bark in the Park, Girls on the Run, just a whole host of different organizations. And that's, end of the night when we're taking down all the bags of recycling and transporting them to the dumpsters. So.
I know that when in past years, I've wanted to actually bring this. My mom, when she moved out of her house, had so many old TVs,
right? And
the only place that I could ever think of where they could be recycled is on Earth Day. You do a recycling component at Forest Park Community College. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure, absolutely. So I think this idea came from one of our board members a couple years ago, but he was just saying, I think something that we could do is how do you recycle all those things that are hard to recycle? So now we have a collection event for hard to recycle items called the Recycling Extravaganza, and we have about 20 different partners that are involved and come to take those hard to recycle items. So if you're like me, you stockpile those in your basement or your attic until finally someday you can make the rounds to all the different folks, or maybe you just think that they should be recyclable but you can't find the place to do it. Well, this is your one-stop shop. So anything from clothes, household appliances, electronics, school supplies, art supplies, paper shredding. There's just a huge list, I think, of at least 100 different items or so that aren't your typical single stream recycling.
Yes, when I remember when I've read about it in the past, I always thought it's the stuff that people put out in their doorstep for the trash to pick up, but they're not supposed to. Right. That's what it is. It's like, you can't just put a bunch of TVs, old TVs, or the electronics or appliances, but that goes on the entire simultaneously to the festival itself, right on the grounds at the community college.
The way we've arranged it is that it's at Forest Park Community College, which is just across the highway from the park, and you can go there first, then drop off your car, and then take the shuttle over to the festival. So you don't even have to worry about parking or anything.
Oh, great.
And even if you don't, for whatever reason, want to participate in the extravaganza, you can still park over there and take the shuttle over, and it's a much easier way to get right to the event.
So in the first segment, you mentioned the Green Dining Alliance, and this is another program that you run. Explain that a bit more.
So the Green Dining Alliance took a lot of the principles that we were using working with food vendors at events and made that kind of a year-round process. So we are reaching out to restaurants that have some level of interest in becoming more sustainable, but maybe don't have the resources or the know-how to do that. Or maybe they've done some items, but they want to see what else they can do to improve. And we'll go in and do an audit and recognize the thing that they're already doing well, and then we'll put together a report with recommendations for low-hanging fruit and things that they can implement pretty easily to become more sustainable. We're looking at things like recycling and composting, of course, banning styrofoam, that's a requirement of the program, so none of the styrofoam clamshells.
To go, like the to-go, when
Exactly.
people have to-go boxes. Mm-hmm.
We're looking at their cleaning supplies, what kind of food they're sourcing, so if they're using any local farms or other local producers, water use, energy use, all of those things, and then we come up with a score, and then they're all listed on our website, thegreendiningalliance.org. Sorry, it's a different website that we maintain specifically for this program, and so that people who are interested in supporting businesses that are in line with their values can go to that listing and see who's in their neighborhood.
So when we take a step back from the festival itself and even some of the programs that you're doing, I mean, how does St. Louis, rank is probably not necessarily the best word, but are we doing a good job when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to recycling? I mean, what are we doing good at here in St. Louis, and what are areas that we can improve in?
Yeah. So they're kind of different metrics, and I think if you compare St. Louis to where it was 20 or 30 years ago, we're doing a lot better. If you compare us to some of the coasts, we might have a little bit of learning to do.
Be struggling.
But there's certainly some good models out there that we can look to. And it also kind of depends on the individual and how they seek out those different opportunities. So, for example, we have some pretty sprawling land use decisions that have been made over the past 50 years or so, which are impacting people's drive time and whether or not they're riding their bike. We have access to local foods, so farmers markets in particular have really shot up. There's more available in the grocery stores, so that's great. But we still have food deserts, so there are certain areas that don't have access to any groceries, let alone organic or sustainable groceries. And then let's see what other areas. Air quality is one that St. Louis kind of struggles on. I'm not very familiar with air quality, but I was looking at one of our partners' websites, and I learned that just the time of day that you choose to mow your lawn can have a tremendous impact on the air quality of the day. So if you do it in the morning or later in the afternoon and not noon, then it tremendously affects the ozone that's in the air. So I think just little things like that people can discover at the Earth Day Festival or online to make a big difference.
I feel like, when you talk about like green topics and, environmental sort of reporting and coverage, there's a big time when, recycling was a huge focus. It still is, but designating the type of plastics and all of that. I mean, what do you feel, we talk about climate change a lot right now. I know solar panels and solar energy, wind energy, even here in Missouri, those have become big topics. Is there sort of a big topic that you feel people are really trying to tackle or raise the awareness about right now that we've kind of not surpassed recycling, but everyone knows about its importance? But is there something else that we're on the next topic, the next item?
I think you mentioned climate change, and that really is, I think, going to be is the challenge of our generation. So we really need to rein in our emissions and it's kind of everything that's interlocking with that larger issue of the climate stability and the planet stability over time.
In a city like St. Louis and just the greater St. Louis area where there is sprawl and people are spread out and you almost have to have a car to get around, what are some of the tips that you think people can do? Carpooling might be one of them, but do you get these kind of questions a lot where it's, hey, we're a big spread out city, we're not a compact city, what can I do?
Yeah. I think it depends on, every circumstance is different. So it's a matter of kind of assessing what's available to you and then making a decision. Obviously, if you have the luxury of working close to where or living close to where you work, or however you want to
one or the other,
which is more important to you. That's a great thing because if you have to drive, you're still driving less. There are some great programs out there like Ride Finders where you can connect with other people who work near where you work and live where you live and carpool together. And that, even if you can do that just twice a week, it's great. Biking when you can. So if it's, I try to bike, if it's under 3 miles, I'll try to bike.
Really?
So if it's for groceries or for work or for errands, under 3 miles, I try to hop on the bike. If you wanted to just say a mile, there's still a lot of errands that you do that are within a mile, whether it's going to the park or the grocery store. So, I think it's just looking at where those opportunities are in your life.
Right, and I do think there is some change. I feel like from when, 20 years ago, you wouldn't see a bike lane. Now you actually see designated bike lanes throughout really the city and the county, and sidewalks to a certain extent are improving in some areas. I want to jump back to, at least on the food topic, because there's sort of carbon footprint connected to how much we eat and what we eat. I hear a lot more about, the undersupply of fish, or how we're farming in terms of our meat consumption taking up so much land. I mean, do you think that's going to be, in a state like Missouri, a continued topic? How do we address that in 1 minute? But what are your thoughts on that?
To me, food is one of the biggest contributing factors that you can do in your everyday life. You eat 3 times a day, so what if maybe just one of those meals is a low meat meal, or you incorporate sustainable ingredients or locally sourced foods. Even just going to the farmers market once a month as a starting point. All of those things are really going to add up as far as your individual carbon footprint. You mentioned meat and that sort of thing. I think Missouri is a pretty meat-heavy state, but again, just choosing one meal a week that doesn't have meat in it, and you can significantly lower your carbon impact over time.
And people can go, like on your website, I found there's quite a bit of resources. I mean, as we start to wrap things up, what can people find if we tell them to head to your website? Other than festival information, what can they find there?
So actually on the greendiningalliance.org website, there's a lot of diner resources that are specific to people who are looking to make choices for how they're eating. So that's definitely a good resource. And then on our website, you'll find information if you want to do recycling at one of your events. If it's like a small event, PTO meeting, fundraiser, something like that, we have a loan program where people can borrow our containers to use them at their event.
Okay, all right. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much. We've got the information there for you on the screen. It's Earth Day every day for everyone.
Yes.
And that's the sort of slogan for this year, but the St. Louis Earth Day Festival, it's Sunday, April 26th, don't miss it, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., pretty much all day right there on the Muni grounds in Forest Park. You can go have food, do activities, have some meat and shop from some interesting vendors, or head to the St. Louis Earth Day website for more information about what the organization does throughout the year. And Cassandra, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
All right. And thank you at home for watching us here on City Corner, and please keep it right here on STL TV, Experience St. Louis.